Hey, it's Camo for Nashville Access, the Pie Wagon Sessions, coincidentally at the Pie Wagon on Music Row. And we're supposed to have a big storm today, but we thought we'd preempt the storm by getting some really cool music and some cool artists. See what I did there?
Yes, it's a good thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Shafer.
Hey guys, how are you?
You may remember him from The Voice, season 11. That was last year, last season.
This last season, which is just a few months ago, actually. Yeah. I was on Team Blade.
Yeah, representing the geezers, those of us that
that's right. Yeah, that's
have
right.
had a couple miles on ourselves.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
You know, we still have so much to offer. I think. You know, we make this mistake. You know, throughout society that just because you reach a certain age, that you have no value, and which I think is kind of a sad state of things. You know, I mean, we focus so much on the youth, and youth is a wonderful thing, but there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of quality. I mean, shoot, I don't think a lot of singers even become a singer until they actually reach a certain age.
Well, I was going to
their body changes
because I noticed your guitar's got some miles on it.
Oh yeah,
and I thought
1978.
Perfect comparison because it develops a richness and
yes.
Some people want to say used.
The quality, there's a certain quality to it. Yeah. I mean, why do certain antiques cost so much? This and that. There's a certain value that they represent. And I think I'm not saying that about me, but I think it was an honor for me to actually represent a whole group of people that society sometimes takes for granted.
Did you feel there were a lot of people kind of cheering for you just for that fact? It's like, oh, he's one of us.
I did. And still do. I go all over the country, and there's not a day that goes by where and I've only been on the Voice twice.
You were saying,
and everywhere I go, there's at least 3, 4, 5, 6 people come up to me and know me, which is an honor, really. And I think it's not because of me; it's because of what I represented. And I think it had to do with age. It had to do with possibly the material that was performed.
Yeah, you did some pretty classic stuff.
Yeah, it was in a classic realm, and I think people hearkened back to melody and connectivity, intimacy. In fact, the shows that I'm booking now throughout the country, that's my whole goal, is just to be as intimate and as much as possible. I want to be able to connect with the audience, and it's just about the song, and I know your wife's a great songwriter too, and I think it's all about the song. It's all about the performance of that song. To me, anyhow, that's the way I look at
it. Do you think? I mean, because you've been in Nashville for a long time. You're not a newcomer.
I've been here about 20 years. 96 is my.
So you've done the 10-year town thing twice.
Oh, a couple times over. Yeah, I'm still here. God's got a plan. I think I don't know what it is, but
that was the cool thing when you got on The Voice, because you and I have been friends on Facebook for a couple of years and not really known each other. It's just one of those connection things. And then the next thing I see is, Dan's on The Voice, and so there's kind of a sense of, I know that dude.
Yes. It's kind of there again, it goes back to connectivity.
Yeah.
It's a sense of pride, and I think it's the same thing. It should be the same thing for the artist. When they start taking pride in their past, and when you're a fan, I don't think you can be anything but humble, and that friendship that. I've been watching this thing called Parrot Heads. It's about the Jimmy Buffett gang.
Oh,
all the people throughout the. Here you are. You've got a group of people. One person, Jimmy Buffett, who just plays music that makes people happy. Yeah. And you've got all these groups throughout the world called Parrot Heads, and they go to these events, and people are singing Jimmy Buffett, and it's a lifestyle. Yeah. It's not about Jimmy Buffett, it's about what he represents.
I read, now I don't know if it's a joke or not, that he's going to be opening retirement communities because that's his audience. And
that's okay.
It'll be, endless margaritas everywhere and just tooling around on golf carts and not having to worry about anything except being retired.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty neat, I think, but it's, but to me, that's what music has always been anyway, even as a boy.
you've been really connected to music, and people have just kind of come to know you through the voice and your singing, but you're a producer, songwriter, you've been involved in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I have. I've had the privilege of, folks maybe know some of the stuff from the show, but I did television commercials for such a long time. I did, Transformers, Robots in Disguise. I did, BC Powder, and, I did in, multitude of commercials. Aliens 3 when that came out, '92. The voice of the aliens, and they had a character out there called the Space Marines, and I did that, for Saturday morning cartoons. That's why I like Saturday morning. Matchbox, all the lightning key car stuff. But yeah, and I had a privilege of I've worked with John Barry, and he was a great singer. I think, I love John Barry. He was on, I was involved with his last Capitol Records album.
We've had him on this little thing too. He's a great guy. Yeah.
He is. Him and Robin are just down to earth, real people. He loves what he does. He's a big, John Denver fan. So all that. So that's who is. It's really wonderful. But and then on the Christian side, I had the privilege of singing on the Emmanuel record for Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith, and Eli, and a bunch of other folks too. So yeah, I've been involved, and I've written with a lot of folks too. Lance Miller when he was on Warner Brothers, and Lisa Shafer when she was on Lyric Street, and just a lot of great songwriters. The songwriting community here in Nashville is second to none. It's the most loving group of individuals you'll ever meet, and that's why I'll call it, it's the house of love. Every time that you're in a place and you're playing new songs, it's okay, it's all right. You'll fall softly, on a soft place with everybody else as a songwriter.
What? Of all the elements in your career, what gives you the most pleasure?
Singing.
Really?
Singing is the most important thing, and like I said, I knew what was going to happen if I pursued singing. You can't sing and have a family. It's really difficult there's a fine line of both, So my whole life I've just been chasing, trying to provide for my family through music in a roundabout way, and but singing is it's a spiritual thing for me. I mean, it is the most intimate place of peace, and I can't explain it. That's why I'm saying it's not about me, it's about me going to a place, and I think that's what connectivity is all about, and when people hear you sing, they can see that it's about that place that you're taking them to as well. You're bringing them to a place of peace, comfort, or joy, or sadness, and whatever that place is. It's just the opposite of, I'm a circus, come to me. Yeah. And that's got its place too. Yeah. But for me, singing is the most. I don't know. I can't explain it, but it's the most. It's what gives me the most joy.
It's the genuinosity.
Yeah, genuinosity. That was the word. That's the word of the day. Genuinosity.
Genuinosity.
Not authenticity. Genuinosity.
Genuinosity.
That's all right. We made up some stuff.
That's right. We'll get royalties for that.
That's right.
People will stream that word, and we'll get like a fraction of a cent for the.
Yeah, it's kind of like today's songwriters.
That's right.
0.000001.
Is that? I mean, that's got to be frustrating.
It is.
You create a product that a lot of people want, and you get next to nothing for it.
It is. It's times they are changing, and like I said, it's you have to just readjust your thinking on what the music is for. How do I capitalize on that music, and how can I still maintain the integrity of that music? I think we had spoken earlier. It's kind of like bands in the past, they used the record to get butts into seats, and to bring people to the concert. The record was just, they weren't focused on, it was like this cool thing, wow, I just heard my song on the radio, but that wasn't where the income streams came from. It was basically, it's like an old meat market guy. He walks around and gives everybody a sample of his salami until they get so hung up on it that they're, his his customers can't live without. In his mind, psychologically, he can't live without boar's head. Even if it's $5 a pound more than its competitors.
It's like the dealer thing. The first one's free.
That's right. He gets them locked in there. And I think it's the same thing with your music. I think you need to find your niche market, whether it's 10 people, and let it grow from 1,000. Find your niche. And once you find your niche, it'll grow. It's like expanding a market. There's only 2 ways to expand a market, from my perspective. I mean, multiples out of that. But there's either one. You either drop your drawers, so to speak, and drop your price, and you compete with everybody else, and you fight that out. Or you raise your price, you pick a niche market, and you focus only on that market. And then from there, it'll expand from within, not necessarily, because people are coming to it. So
in every generation, I think there's a certain artist that comes out that is able to break the rules. The Grateful Dead were famous for, bootleg the record, we don't
That's
care.
right, just go ahead.
And there's a rapper now, I forget his name.
You said rapper?
Yeah, that gives away his music. He never charges for his music. And he sells out shows all over the place. But when everybody starts doing that, then there's a problem. And I think that's kind of got what people expect. Well, this guy gives it away, why can't you give it away?
Mm-hmm. No, I understand that. It's a quandary, it really is. But it's still, nonetheless, it's, like when Sean Parker created Napster, everybody was trying to sue him, trying to squelch, it was already out of the bag. The best thing the labels could have done at that time is welcome him, set up now look at it, 20 years later, 30 years later, whatever, we have social media, we have people who focus solely on
and what killed that, the labels having that problem was the headlines of labels going after 7-year-old children and giving them a bill for $10,000 because they've done, and that's I think contributed to the success of Napster. Not only was he not embraced, they went the opposite way.
Yeah, they should have embraced it, because once the technology's out, everybody's going to be focused on it, and it's already out of the bag, so you have to, how can I go ahead and take that technology now and make a transition from where we've been generating income to where that is going. We were at a head start. I think people are coming around to it, but look at the film industry, movie industry. Look at jingles. I'm out of work. I don't have any. What jingles really are there?
Yeah.
But they found a place. Look at YouTube now. They've got those. The 12, 15, 10, 15, 30-second spots there. So they're finding their ways. Will it ever be like it was, where it's
You're never going to put that gene.
I don't think you're ever going to do that. So, but it's still. I think sometimes when we've lost our place in life, even we need to just sit down and go back to basics. And to me, basics of music is going back to like Little Richard, going back to rock and roll, going back to the early country guys, Johnny Cash's, and those guys get together in a van and they start going from place to place, building an audience, and from that audience, build it and they'll come, right? And then now you can start selling records again. Look at AM radio. You've had people say AM radio was a dead thing until Rush Limbaugh and Dr. Laura and love them or hate them, it doesn't matter.
It's revitalized.
It revitalized it. Just like the only radio stations that are doing anything throughout the country are classic rock, classic R&B, classic soul, classic. Why is that?
This is perfect because it brings us back to the music that makes Dan Shafer. So Dan Shafer can make music.
Right.
Who are some of the influences that you've had in your career?
I say when I was a young boy, believe it or not, the Jackson 5 or the Shy Lights. Honey, you are my shining star, don't you know? All those melodic structures with black music. I mean, it was just, there are a lot of my friends currently that were into the blues. I wasn't really necessarily in the blues. I was more into that pop, great black music, the Shy Lights, the Stylistics, the Manhattans.
The whole Motown.
The whole Motown, thing. And, but then from there, I got involved with Three Dog Night. And then all of a sudden, you become 14, 15, filled with testosterone, and you find the James Gang with Joe Walsh, and Led Zeppelin, it's like,
and you just you figure out your speaker does go up to 11.
It does go to 11. Yeah. Don't touch it. And then by the time I was 17, though, Beatles became life for me. And I found in the Beatles that you can do honey pie, you are made. And from that to Helter Skelter, you can be an artist that's not afraid to do jazz, rock and roll, pop. That's why I was saying earlier, if you focus on somebody and just force yourself to be that individual, no matter what form of music you do, you will be you. And you make, look at Beatles, they took Roaring Twenties music and made it pop and made it themselves. They couldn't help but be Beatles. You know, it's like Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones. They, in their mind, thought that they were Howlin' Wolf, but they weren't. They just took something and made it. It's hard to explain. But
well, if you're shooting high enough, you're aiming high enough.
That's the whole thing.
Even if you don't make it, you're still going to come in pretty high. But if you're aiming to be somebody in the middle,
yes.
When you don't get there,
well, it's just the same principle. You know, if you're trying to find a band, if you're a local band and you're the kingpin and this and that, you'll never become anything greater. You'll never meet. It's like a runner. I want to lose weight or I want to run, and you're running 2 miles a day, so you have to pick the best runner out there that you like a physique. If you want a trainer, you want to find a body that you want to emulate, and that person says, well, your goal is to run 10 miles. You're only running 2. I'm going to start beating you until we get to that 10. Well, it's the same thing with music. You know, you need to surround yourself with people that are greater than you, and it should never be about you. It's about
the team.
The team. And once you get that mindset, I think you start elevating, or at least find a place where you're at. You know, I think you're right. I mean, you can't go wrong in striving. So instead, the opposite. I think to explain the alternative to that. If someone says, okay, this person's popular right now of the day, that's the goal. That should never be the goal, because they're just the popular person of the day. It's like principles and precepts. If you stand on solid principles and solid things that make you, you know, successful, you know, work ethic and self-sustaining, you know, reliability, you know, all those various things, if you stand on those principles, no matter what comes your way, you will still be strong. And I think the same thing with artists. If you stay true, if you love Beatles, or if you love Conway Twitty, or if you love, you know, whatever, the Shy Lights, and stick to those principles, I don't think, you know, and, you know, I remember even doing jingles, you know, you had to write a hit song like in 15, 30 seconds, but you still had to be relative to today's production, you know, so it's the spirit. So you've got to dig deeper and find where's the soul and the spirit of that song, but then bring it up to speed to where it is relative. But the problem today is that I think, from my perspective, everything is relative to today, but it doesn't have any spirit or soul. There's no context.
Let's have a solo. Play us a Dan Shafer.
All right, it's all right. I haven't recorded this yet, so Jeff Carson did an awesome demo on this window. So my wife, I was playing the other day, I love Jeff, man. And he did it so well. I said, man, Jeff, I don't think I could ever do that. But anyway, it's called Tell Me One More Lie. So.
You can take her past, throw it over your shoulder. It's just another load to carry. You could lock our vows in your suitcase, baby. I've got the spare key, Promises made on the cool summer's grass. Making love ain't love when it don't last. No, tell me that you want to hear. The future's ours and it's all so clear. Tell me I'm your Mr. Right, and you tremble when I hold tight. You can't live without me by your side. Tell me, baby, tell me one more lie. As you're looking in your rearview mirror, and it all fades away. What about that its colors start to gray. Promises made under a clear blue sky, it's so clear now with tears in your eyes. Tell me, baby, do you hear? The future's yours and it's all so clear. Is he still your Mr. Right? And do you tremble when he holds you tight? But will he be there for the rest of your life? Tell me, baby. Tell me one more lie. You say that time has a way of healing, but tell me, why am I still breathing? I guess I'm holding on to a place long ago, but it's so hard to let go. Tell me what I wanna hear, baby. The future's ours and it's all so clear. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me I'm your Mr. Right, and you tremble when I hold you tight, and you won't live without me by your side. Tell me, sugar, tell me one more lie. Tell me one more lie, yeah. Tell me one more lie. Oh, oh. Tell me one, tell me one, tell me one more lie.
Very nice. Dan Shafer, man, it's so good having you on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming by and doing
Oh
this.
man, it's a pleasure.
People can connect with you.
You can go to danshafermusic.com, and that's DANSHAFER music.
No, nothing silent.
I know, it's like nothing silent. There's no H's, AEs, and that's just danshafermusic.com, or you can Dan Shafer Music on Facebook as well.
Excellent. Got some product coming out soon that people be able
Well,
to
I have an album right now. It's out on iTunes and Amazon. It's called Rise Above, and my first single is called Leaving Virginia.
Sweet.
And you can, like I said, just
go get it.
Go get
and
it.
go and buy it. Please don't just stream it, because
That's right.
when you
Right.
buy it, the artist gets paid,
That's exactly
the songwriters get paid, everybody gets paid.
And if you'd like me to come to your city or town or country to come and perform, you can also contact me at danshafermusic.com too. And I'm looking forward to coming to see all, especially all my friends down in Brazil and the Philippines
There you go.
and all over the world.
Everywhere.
So, everywhere.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
See you next time.
See you.